Please note that each human being is unique. For further understanding of the subject matter, please be advised to consult your preferred healthcare professional. And joining in right here in the studio is a psychotherapist, Letsha Kgotla, as well as creative Masego Mohwasa. And we're talking triggers. Triggers. Last time we touched on it, we were talking about post-traumatic stress, right? That's how I say it, right?
Disorder,
yeah. Yeah. That's how we did get to touch on it. And as always, when we do get to the special, we do get to look at things from our guests' perspective as to how they have dealt with it, and we're taking a look at triggers. So this is how you, as Masego, how you've dealt with triggers over the years. We experience things and we don't know what they are, and that's why we have Letsha here, because she defines things very nicely, and like a couple of times I throw things at her and she says, "Yeah, but you see, it's not really that. It's this."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, triggers, Letsha. I think maybe firstly, for a person who's listening in for the first time, let's just give them a brief understanding of what triggers are working.
Right. So triggers are going to be the stuff that is in your environment that kind of throws you off, that kind of, offsets your emotional balance. Yes. And triggers can be, or more often than not, triggers really are linked to a previous bad experience. So it becomes an associated thought. You see something, it reminds you of something that you have experienced before, you've seen before, and it's not really about the trigger itself, but more of what it reminds you of. That's the word trigger, because it's the start of something else happening. It's like a chain reaction. You see something or you hear something and it reminds you of something, and then you go back to an emotional state, or you get into an upset emotional state because you're now thinking about or remembering something that has happened previously that wasn't so pleasant.
Now, Masego, just with that explanation, just looking at your life, you are a person who is within the creative space. You're a person who's within the corporate space. You're a human being.
Yeah.
All of us here have gone through things in our lives. For you, when you hear this word trigger, does it resonate with your experiences?
Yeah, it really does. I think for me, I don't know. I think the first time I actually realized, or experienced, or just had realization or awareness of the fact that I have triggers and I have a reaction to them, was I remember I was watching there's this movie, Leon Schuster, I forgot. I think there's a Zulu on my stoop or something. And there's a scene in it that I don't know why, as I think I was probably 18 or 19, it really made me uncomfortable, right? I wasn't aware why it made me uncomfortable. It's a funny scene, but then it took my uncle telling me, "Wow, do you know that when you were a kid, every time you saw the scene, you would cry?" And I was like, "Oh, that's why I feel this discomfort." So I think for me, it was like an aha moment, because I realized that sometimes we're not even aware that we're being triggered and why it is. Sometimes it's so deep in your subconscious that you don't even know that you're being triggered, but you just feel something just makes you feel off and you don't know why.
Yeah.
So I think it's also important to realize that it can be very, very subconscious and you don't know why. Sometimes you're not even aware of the fact that you're reacting to something because of a reason.
Yeah.
And it takes someone else holding a mirror to you and being maybe this comes from that and that and that. So I think that was the first time I realized the importance of just awareness and feeling and questioning how I feel, because sometimes there's a deeper link and reason to it. So yeah, I think that was the beginning of my relationship or awareness of triggers. Yeah.
At the time, did you know what it was? Did you try exploit more?
No, I think at the time, no, not really. I don't think I was oh, okay, that's what that comes from. But I wasn't unfortunately, I wasn't big on mental health care. I was just oh, that's what that was. Okay, fine, great. But No, I didn't explore further. I think the only time I really started paying attention to my mental health was very recently, because I had like a great loss in the family. And then that's where I think my self-awareness just became more deliberate than it was before.
So, Letsha, how do we, looking at that, like, it's a scene, as a child, she was, it brought something on, and later on, after it was explained, she realized it's a trigger. How do we break that one down?
Right. So I think what Masego spoke about is really important, the whole awareness of the entire thing. Because if you're not aware what's going on, you don't have any control over what you do or how you feel the next time you're exposed to this trigger. So one, you're going to want to make yourself aware of it so that you know what to expect, right? One, so that you don't expose yourself to it unnecessarily. Two, also so that you can investigate the issue. And if there is some kind of past trauma there, you want to resolve it, deal with it so that this thing doesn't become, or you take back the control, really, because it's exactly that. If you don't understand it, if you don't see it, if you're not aware of it, you can't control what happens when it comes around. You can't control, and for her instance, it's a much more calmer kind of experience where you're feeling upset, but there's certain triggers that can send you into rage, for example, and that's dangerous. So you want to be able to be aware of it so that you can control that thing, so that if there's something that's bothering you that's deeper, which is usually the case, you want to be able to go and resolve this thing so that it doesn't control your life anymore.
All right. Now, Masego, from that point when before your recent loss and, the triggers it brings, before that, and from where now your uncle, was telling you about this and you started having awareness, were there other triggers that maybe you see them as minor that probably came through as well?
You know what? I think I probably throughout, especially, in my young adult life, I've probably had a lot of triggers because I was a problematic child. And that was probably me, like what she said about like reacting in rage. I was very rageful and I felt very entitled to like my actions. I felt like if I'm feeling angry, I have the right to like express it, and where it comes from, I don't really care, but I feel this way and therefore I have to act on it. So, I mean, I had the awareness of being upset. I don't think I didn't connect it to what it could be from. I just know that I felt very entitled because I felt entitled. For me, a trigger was more reason. It was more like, this is why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I feel this way and therefore, but I didn't really understand that, like, where it came from or nothing like that until very recently. I think, and I honestly implore everybody to like seek professional assistance when it comes to like mental health, because there's like just things that you can't learn about yourself when you're looking at yourself. It's a blind spot. You always have a blind spot. And our friends and family, unfortunately, always it's always contextual. Like it's always like in relation to how they experience you. So it's very, very limited. But until then, I think that's when I realized, oh, this triggers me. And then you start realizing how you project. I didn't realize I projected a lot. I do a lot of that. And, and I mean, it's a good thing that I learned so much about myself, but I think sometimes it has worked against me because now I have so much awareness. I'm afraid to even put myself in situations where there's potential stimulus. Like sometimes I'll just stay home because I don't know that I have the level of control to like manage triggers. I know what my triggers are, but I'm like, what if I can't manage the triggers? So, I mean, it's a good thing to have awareness and have an understanding of what your triggers are. But sometimes, I don't know, I think maybe Letsha can help with that. Like, how do I then, knowing my triggers, what do I do about the fear of like engaging with my triggers because I'm not sure that, I can act rationally.
Yeah.
I think the first step, and you spoke about projection, right? Projection basically is you seeing things because of, what's in your head. It's more about your understanding, your comprehension than it is about the actual situation, right? So once you get to interpret that, once you get to understand that, most of what I'm experiencing, it has a lot more to do with my own mental picture. You get to see how it kind of peels off the layers. And once you start to see things more clearly, then you don't fear anymore, because now you understand, or you're able to at least basically draw the line of what is actually real and what is perceived. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she also brought on that very important aspect, for a person who's dealing. Well, basically, we're always dealing with something. Is people around her, not understanding what's going on. When it comes to triggers, how do you make people around you understand, especially your family and friends? Because I take it they are the first point of contact before, the other human beings in this world.
Yeah, and like she said, with your friends and family, it's always contextual. Whatever they say, the advice that they give you, it has a lot to do with how they experience you as a person. And, lots of lines can be blurred in that because sometimes, people somewhat push their own agenda in conversation, and that can be dangerous. Yeah. So it's very important that, you, like she said, seek professional help and, get to talk to somebody who's actually trained to do these things, because without that, you don't have a proper account of what it is. So it's, with mental health issues in general, it's very difficult to get another person to completely understand what you're experiencing. So much so that sometimes it's you're going to try and explain what it is that's going on. You're going to want to give them some kind of understanding, but there's only so much that you can do. The best thing to do, of course, is communicate, use your words, make them aware of what it is that you're experiencing. But it's also a bit unrealistic that you expect them to completely understand, because they aren't experiencing what you are.
Yeah, because I believe, this is something that I've brought up when I was chatting with you on we find that as a society, we are very dismissive in terms of when a person has mental health issues. It's either, hey, we throw in a lot of things, and even within the family, it's always, things like that. Moving forward, for a person listening in, let's start with you, Masego. Moving forward, for a person listening in, you are lucky enough to have had that awareness, and you've one person who now, from listening in, I can hear you understand the importance of your own mental health and seeking professional help. For a person listening in who's probably there like, triggers. What can you say to them? Because sometimes they think, for a person listening in, they might think that, okay, we're just talking for the sake of talking. Mm-hmm. How important is it for a person to be able to arrest in terms of understanding their triggers and knowing and having, the comprehension to say, okay, not here, I'll go here?
I mean, for me, it's just having that understanding has, influenced how just my perception of life, my perception of other people, and just the awareness that it's not my world. You know what I mean? I'm existing alongside, in relation to people around me, and things like that. So I think it really just, because you don't exist in isolation. I think it's very important to just understand how exactly it is you're affecting the world around you. The world around you is not just affecting you. You're also affecting it. You're contributing to whatever the status quo is at home, whatever the status quo is in your friendships, in your relationships and things like that. And that's something that I wasn't aware of. I know I used to, for example, I'm going to go deep now, but I didn't have lasting relationships before. I'd be in a relationship for 3 months, 6 months, and we get, man, 6 months, because I would leave because I think I didn't have awareness of the fact that I wasn't existing in a I was a part of a bigger thing. You know what I mean? It was like the relationship is affecting me. I'm not affecting the relationship, and therefore I'm out. And then I had to realize that actually you don't exist. Like there's no relationship and there's no environment that I'm going to exist and it's always going to be about me. It's a give and take. So I think just having that awareness helps you in relationship with other things. And like when I got the awareness, just how I relate with people started changing. You know what I mean? Everything wasn't a dead end. I realized that as much as like I get triggered, I also trigger people. Like there's things that I also do to trigger people. And then I also started realizing that, man, other people get triggered as well. This person is acting out, but because I've been triggered and I know that, some things come from a deeper place. Now when I see people getting triggered, I have that compassion and I realize, well, man, this person isn't trying to be foul. This probably comes from somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just helps you just become more empathetic and understanding, and how you relate to other people just kind of becomes healthier. So I really implore people just to like gain awareness.
Letsha, in closing, that's it's a lot. And I'm just happy, whenever we have these conversations, to hear a person like her, in terms of her as a person understanding, that mental health, and the thing that we always stress every week when we're here. And I'm always happy hearing another human being talk about the understanding of mental health. And, she went deep.
I think it's absolutely important because at the end of the day, there's a reason why you should take care of your mental health. You shouldn't just do it for the fun of it, right? Yeah. The aim is to improve the quality of your life in general. So, that's when we give this journey purpose is when we start to experience it, and it also impacts us in real time, so much that we're able to see the effects of it, right, in our relation with other people and how we relate with our work and how we relate with ourselves in general. So it really is about, empowering yourself with what you learn rather than just, knowing it so that you can perhaps say it to other people and stuff. It should change you because you have experienced it. It's something new, and therefore it should show that now you have a new competency.
Yeah, ladies, I'm happy. I'm happy. Like I'm saying, I'm always happy to just, find out that another person has a better understanding when it comes to, mental health issues, because it shows that a person by person, there's change that's happening, and to tell the truth, it is kind of stressful. Sometimes you just have to think about a person that you just met. Okay, this person's probably good. It gets stressful, and I think that's another topic that we would have to touch on moving forward as well. But in conversation with Masego Mohwasa, who is a creative. She's a person within the corporate world, as well as usual, having our psychotherapist, Letsha Kgotla, joining in. In closing, Masego, if you don't mind, I don't know how you interact with people on social media, like on your Facebook, because there's a person listening in and might be not comfortable in talking to me or Letsha, and might be more comfortable with chatting to you on Facebook. Where can they find you?
It's actually funny you say that because I'm such an open book that I share my story on social media, and people will DM me and be like, oh, I just need to vent because you're so open. So feel free, guys. I'm What's Good Chichi on my Twitter, on my Instagram, Masego Mohwasa on Facebook, and LinkedIn. Although do not hit me up on LinkedIn about personal conversations. But I'm always open to just talk to anyone because I know how it felt when I needed to talk to people. So feel free.
Letsha, where can we find you?
Right, you can find me on Facebook at Letsha Kgotla. Alternatively, you can reach me on my cell phone at 72383085.
Love's Lounge.